All right, thank you everyone for joining us. This is the Murray City Municipal Council meeting, Committee of the Whole meeting. It is October 3rd, 2023. Gary Haregisi, the chair of the council, and I'll be conducting the meeting. We are here at City Hall in the Poplar Meeting Room. All council members are present, as well as Jennifer, the mayor, and Patty, and then so we will start with the approval of the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting for September 12th, 2023. Were there any changes or updates to the minutes? Okay. We'll do a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes for, September 12th, 2023.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We will move on to the discussion items. First discussion item, a discussion on an ordinance amending the general plan and zoning map from R18 residential single family to RM15 multifamily medium density residential for the properties located at 770 and 780 West, 5300 South, and 845 West Clover Meadow Drive. And we have Mr. Smallwood here presenting.
Yes. Hello, sir.
Welcome.
Hello, all of you. So yeah, this is a request for a general plan and zone map amendment for the subject properties. They're located here. So you'll notice that one of the addresses was on Clover Meadow Drive. So that is technically this street up here. And this little wedge of a property, for some reason, has an address off of Clover Drive. So really, all of this is off of 5300 South. Nothing actually touches Clover Meadow Drive. The current zoning is R18, which is low density single family. It's combined about 2.9 acres. So some of the reasonings we're making a recommendation of approval, spoiler alert, is that in the general plan initiative 3, livable and vibrant neighborhoods, opportunities and what's needed for success for that initiative, from page 46 of your general plan, allowing for buffering, including visual and auditory between adjacent uses, and a range of housing types, including missing middle around single family apartments. As you can see on this photo here, there are townhomes directly to the west, and then there are Applegate is just to the north, and then you have the new Ivory development just to the south. It really kind of provides a nice buffer away from the existing single family neighborhood that's there. The applicant does own property, I think, right here. His name is Justin Lang, who will be at the public hearing at the next meeting. The future land use map of this is currently low density residential. In order to do the RM15 zone, we're asking to amend that to the medium density residential. So a few things here. So the current land use category is low density residential, as I said, corresponds to these following zoning districts: A1 through R210. That goes from least dense to the most dense in its respects. And the future land use category here, which is the medium density residential, goes from R16, RM10, and RM15. So this would, some of the reasons for this specifically is it's used to, this designation is intended for areas near and along centers and corridors. So this fits very nicely here. Located right along 5300 South, it doesn't have to access to, and nor is the applicant wanting to access to the single family neighborhood. A little anecdote about this property is that we have always said that we would entertain an application for a rezoning if they were able to show that they would get an access from UDOT.
And they did it.
And somehow, in the 5.5 years I've been here, it's never happened. They were able to obtain an access for the amount of homes that they want to put there. So I was like, okay, I'll take your application forward, so I feel like it's a good application for it and it's a good use of this property. So, just a couple of things that I'm taking out of the general plan just to show that it does support this change. Specifically in the land use and urban design section, objective 2, encourage revitalization along key transportation corridors and in the core of the city. The strategy here offers zoning, density, street improvements, and other indirect incentives for areas targeted for revitalization. As you all probably are aware, this area is pretty vacant and isn't very well kept. And this does provide an opportunity for that to be redone a little bit. Next, objective 9, provide a mix of housing options in residential zones to meet a diverse range of needs related to lifestyle and demographics, including age, household size, and income. So here, ensure residential zoning designations offer the opportunity for spectrum of housing types. And then objective 10, promote the transition of development patterns between commercial areas and stable residential neighborhoods. You would see a little bit further east, there's the commercial nodes there with Smiths and all that, and it kind of provides an additional buffer. And 53rd in itself is a very busy road. So next, which is one of the more crucial ones that I want to talk on, is how it relates to the moderate income housing section. It specifically meets a few of the strategies that we've laid out. So, objective 1, preserve and stabilize current neighborhoods, implementing transition housing types that would integrate well with surrounding single-family dwellings. Let's see, this one, support residential infill projects of a compatible scale and form. And then let's see. This next one, the objective 3, encourage housing options. I think I kind of went over that another one, I apologize. So, yeah, this is promoting the construction of smaller scale residential projects and townhomes, row homes, things like that. So, quick zone comparison here is the R18 requires 8,000 square feet per lot. The RM15 allows for 12 units per acre as a base density. Height is not that different. It's 35 feet in the R18 zone and 40 feet in the RM15 zone with planning commission approval. Front and rear setbacks are exactly the same, 25. Actually, all of the setbacks are the same. And the parking is 2.5 spaces per unit as opposed to just 2 for a single family residence. So, planning commission action. The planning commission held a public hearing on July 20th of this year. 158 notices were sent out to properties within 100 or 400 feet surrounding these properties. The planning commission received 2 public comments at the hearing. I received a few phone calls, mostly just asking if this had to do with Applegate, because Applegate is also on 770 West, just not 5300 South. So they saw 770, so they thought it was Applegate. So I just clarified, and they were just fine with it. So I put on here 2 public comments were made initially in opposition.
I was asking, what is initially?
Yep, so after the meeting, I spoke to one of the people that was not happy with it. She was the chair of the townhomes to the west. I apologize, I had her name. I'm sorry.
Carol?
Yes, Carol. Yep. I did speak with her and after the meeting and kind of explained things a little bit to her, and she was much more receptive to it. She didn't realize that somebody could come in and request it to be commercial as well. She didn't realize some of the other nuances there, so she kind of was more okay with it after the fact. So in the minutes it shows that she was opposed to it, but I did have a conversation with her offline. And then the planning commission did vote 6-0 to forward a positive recommendation to city council. So that is what we are recommending.
And it's almost 3 acres, right? So it'd be 35?
Yeah, I think it's about 34, I think total, I think is what
I thought it was 35.
okay, you're probably right.
But, anyway, right around
Yeah,
there.
34,
Sometimes.
35.
Oh, 36 units.
Okay, 36.
Yeah,
It was
sorry.
probably 35 point
Yeah.
something. And so yeah, that's about the same scale as Murray Heights, just to the north of it. Which is, yeah, about that same scale.
Sounds like it might be a really good use of that.
It could, definitely.
Can you explain something to me? I like what Chair, how do you say her name, Calvage?
Milkovich.
I like how she said, was presently surprised no one has requested commercial proposal for area and stated that residential fits this area much better, which I totally agree with her on that statement. You know, and you, in here, it talked about a pork chop island with UDOT.
Yes.
Justin Lang's talked about a pork chop applicant. Can you explain, is it, I know they're only gonna be able to turn right.
Right in, right out.
Oh, right in, right out,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so Murray Heights couldn't do that, correct? The Murray Heights, they couldn't
Across the
do
street.
that onto 53rd, even though this development has that UDOT right now? Murray Heights couldn't because it was up on a hill?
I don't know the reason why UDOT gave, Ivory that, told them no. They're in their own discretion as to why they can tell them no for an access.
Okay.
And we don't usually get, involved with it.
Right. Okay,
We just knew that we could provide an access off
And-
Southwest.
and the pork chop is, I'm trying to look like, it's like a shape of a pork chop, correct?
Really, it's more like a triangle. It's gonna allow a right in and a right out.
Okay,
Um,
and it will
if
be
I-
right on 53rd, correct?
It'll be closer to, here, I can show you a couple examples.
I'd be curious where the entrance is going to be on this piece of property.
Where the parcel is.
Yeah, I will show you that too here in a second, at least the proposed. This is what a pork chop looks like. Oh, you can't see that. That's cool.
Exit out.
You can see.
You have to close your PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Wait, you can show it to me later.
Oh, it's okay.
I don't wanna,
I've got it
okay.
right there. So that's what a pork chop looks like.
Which
Is-
one?
Is this
Where is
right here.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
it doesn't allow the left turn.
It's the meat of it, I mean the bone of it.
Yeah. And then I can actually show you.
So if a resident is coming out onto 53rd and making a right-hand turn, then they're gonna have to go down into
The light and then
the
turn.
light
Turn
and
the
then
light
make a
and
U-E and then
Correct.
come back up,
Yeah.
just like Murray Heights has to. They either have to go into the subdivision or make a U-E in the church parking lot.
And there's
Got it.
there's even less of a reason for somebody to go into the subdivision. That's way too hard.
Right,
I do know that their access is approximately.
Okay, so.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's as far away from the intersection as it can possibly get.
Okay,
And that's probably why the Heights wasn't able to get their access on 53rd,
That
cause
could
the
be.
intersection could be.
The topography and probably the distance
Oh,
to the,
okay. Well, I was thinking it was the hill.
it could be
It's
that.
going
Yeah,
up.
the topography
That
part. and
People
then,
won't
yeah.
be able to see if they're coming in. And then you said Justin Lang owned the piece of property, correct?
He does, yes.
And then down here it says Michael Hack was the property owner.
In what? I'm sorry. Oh,
The
so.
general plan amendment application?
Yes, so when Justin Lang applied for the property, or applied for the zoning application, he didn't own it yet. He waited until after the planning commission hearing to close on the property. So he is the owner,
So Michael did sell it to
yes.
Justin?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, let me ask a question, it seems pretty common to wait to purchase it, so you make dang sure, I mean, I know, we know one that didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
RCOA.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wish they would have.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's more common.
It is very common, yeah, for them to do, it's kind of in their due diligence, or they write it in the contract
Makes sense.
that it has to be done first. Yeah. Any other questions?
I'm just looking at all my little tabs.
I'll just make a quick comment.
Yeah.
Someone who lives around the corner from this, I think this is a great use. I'm really excited that we got that access from UDOT because I know that that does not happen all the time. And I think this is a great use for the property.
Great.
Thank you. We'll move on to number 2, a discussion on amending section 3.10.110 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to the procurement code and the rules governing minimal and small purchases. And we have our reporter, Dorothy Smith, presenting.
Okay. Thank you for having me here today. This is the first time I've had an opportunity to talk to all of you at the same time about our procurement laws and codes that we follow. And I'm going to be making a request for a change. To do that, well, first off, my goal here is to improve efficiencies, leverage buying power for our city employees, and to adapt to market changes while maintaining transparency and competition. I'm sorry, I have a little cold. Hold on just 1 second. Okay. I'm going to do that by reviewing 6 different crucial things that I think you guys should know. Make this decision, make an informed decision. We're going to go over the procurement matrix as it is right now, and some of the history, the 10-year history of changes that have happened. I'll talk about the legislative requirements, our city buying power, what we have right now. I'll talk a little bit about inflation, and then historical spending patterns. This historical spending patterns are really what to pay attention to because that is where the gist of the request comes from, and then just stakeholder consultations. To begin with, this may be the first time you've seen this, but this little 1-page document here is a synopsis of our 41-page procurement code. Our procurement code is very lengthy, and here this narrows it down to allow our city employees to know what they need to do in order to buy things for the city. If I was going to buy a chair, it would be classified as an operational supply. If it's less than $5,000, the minimum I have to do is basically buy that chair. A lot of city employees will still do their due diligence and find the best value for that chair that they're gonna get, but they really don't have to if they find a chair they like, they can go buy it. If that chair is between $5,000 and $50,000, then we require by code them getting 3 quotes.
The next chair.
And they have to buy the cheapest one of that chair.
Oh, they have to buy the lowest price.
Yes.
Okay.
And then if that chair is over $50,000, it's got the engines on the back, it's bells and whistles, then we require the employees to do an RFP or a bid request. And that takes a lot of time. In the last 10 years, or almost 10 years, back in 2014, this amount right here for minimal purchase and operational supplies was $1,000. That was increased to $5,000. That same year, this amount, the $50,000 increased. Well, it was originally $25,000, and then it bumped up to $50,000. And then over here, the construction work and professional services used to be less than $50,000, and both of those bumped up to $100,000. So that's a synopsis of the history of changes that have happened in the last almost 10 years.
So that was 10 years ago, that.
Yeah, 2014, 2017 is the last time we changed the code. 2020 happened, and I started getting calls almost weekly from our city employees saying, I can't buy what I used to buy a month ago, a year ago, for the same thing, and either I need to hire someone new to help me follow up with procurement code, or we need to increase our values. And I'm like, let's see what happens with this COVID thing and see if it's just a bump and everything's gonna come back down, or if it's really like we are steadily increasing. And every year since then, we've seen the increase and things are going crazy. Employees are still calling and just saying, I need more support or I need a change. So that's why I'm here today. The legislative requirements, so our city code, the purpose of our code, and this is in our code, is to provide fair and equitable treatment to all persons involved in public purchasing, to maximize the purchasing value of public funds in procurement, to provide safeguards and maintain procurement systems of quality and integrity, and to foster transparency and effective broad-based competition. What our city code does, even though our code is very lengthy, it doesn't cover everything. When it doesn't cover all of that, we have our state code and our administrative rule that we fall under. So if you think of it as a bullseye, our city code's in the center, we follow that if we can. If we don't have a rule that allows us to do something, then we go to the state code and then the administrative code to make sure that we're following the best guidelines and following the best practices in buying stuff for the city and doing that for the city. So think of it as a bullseye. You know, everything we buy is covered under some sort of law. Procurement options for city employees. When they want to go buy something, they have to either follow our code right here, and if it goes through an RFP, then we publish it on the Utah Public Procurement Place. This is a national, statewide / national publication that vendors, if they sign up for it, they can get our blast outs. All of the state of Utah uses this. Other city agencies and county agencies will publish their RFPs on this site. And then if they want to, so here's the other thing. RFPs are very cumbersome. They take a lot of time. A good RFP takes months to do. So because the city staffs and local agencies in these smaller communities don't have the time or the resources to do an RFP for everything they buy, the state comes in and says, hey, I'm gonna do an RFP for you and give you a list of approved vendors to buy things from, and then if you need that item, you can go to that approved vendor and say, give me a quote, and then you can buy it from them. So it saves a lot of time and resources. The same with co-op contracts. So if Sourcewell, for example, they go out and do an RFP for janitorial supplies, and they give us a list of all these janitorial supply places. We can go to that, say, give us quotes, and we can mass email all the approved vendors, give us quotes, and then we can buy the best value under that quote. So, like here, right here is a janitorial supplies and carpet cleaning. If we wanted to, we could bypass our matrix or our code and go directly to this and piggyback off of a contract that's already been done and pre-approved and vetted through a state or a national co-op. Okay? I'm going fast too. The other thing the city code does is it gives us some leeway for the one-offs in purchasing. If we are required to get 3 quotes and the vendor says, I don't have competition, they would be considered a sole source provider. And we would then go through a justification process to prove that they are a sole source. A lot of times we require these vendors to write us a letter on their letterhead. We also will publish this on the the Utah Public Procurement Portal saying, hey, this is what we're doing, this is why we're justifying it. And you have 7 days to rebuke us, basically, and say, no, I'm your competition, get a quote from me as well. All of these little circumstances allow us to buy things that are outside of the procurement, but we still have a lot of legwork that we do to make sure we're following our codes and doing things correctly. Unforeseen circumstances, that's like your change orders, when we're not subject matter experts in building a $35 million city hall, you know there's gonna be some change orders. This is how we justify those changes. Procurement to meet existing needs. If we had lighting, specific lighting for our power grid, and we could only use this specific type of light and no other vendor could do it, we could justify it under this type of code. Any questions there? Okay.
No.
I want to briefly talk on inflation and the cost of living adjustments. We all feel it. This is when it's only going to be a couple seconds, but over the last 20 years, there's an inflation rate of about 2.5%, and since 2021, the $100 bill is now equivalent to like $172 in bill. So we're not seeing that same buying power that we have since 2001, which is so weird to say. 2001. And then here too, like a lot of our things, if we were buying $1 million product, supply or something, we'd have to spend 1.7 million to buy the equivalent of what we were doing 20 years ago. Here's where we get to the adjustment. I think our crew back here that are staff that's here is really excited to see or implement it. When the guys start calling me and saying, hey, I can't buy what I used to buy 3 years ago, I'm like, provide me proof. Let's really get the numbers down and show me what increases you are having and how that's affecting you. And a lot of them gave me some great information back. We pulled us some invoices back from the last couple, almost 10 years, well, 7 years. And I showed the value of the same thing that we bought in 2016 to last year, and the increases that we're seeing are 118% for Hydro Specialty Company. Our copper and brass has increased 61%. Pipe and valves and fitting is 41%. And I would like to mention that construction supplies and public works supplies and our power supplies, those haven't increased the 2.5% we've seen each year. They've increased exponentially, and the guys are feeling the struggle of that. Fire hydrants increased almost 80% from 7 years ago. Again, chlorine here is almost a 600% increase from what we were buying 10 years ago. 50% for just basic water operation supplies. Our new meters have gone up in the last 10 years, almost 69%. Waterhead, our wellhead maintenance supplies have increased 73%. So the guys are feeling it. And then the last one I want to just point out is wastewater supplies increased 105%. Collection line materials 163%. And then our manhole covers have gone up almost 1,000% increase from 10 years ago. So that is why I'm here today. The stakeholders, and many of them are here today, are saying, hey, either I need another employee or I need help in our procurement code. So I'm here to propose a red line change. Right now, our minimum for no procurement necessary is $5,000. I would request that goes up to 10. There are guys in this room right now that want it to be 15. The reason I put 10 is I did a lot of market research, both in Utah and nationwide. I got a lot of feedback back. That it is not consistent across the board anywhere. I mean, I wish there was more consistency on this so I could say it. The state of Utah is progressively behind on being, like allowing extra, I don't even know how I'm trying to say it. We're not as progressive as other states. That's what I'm trying to say.
You mean fiscally?
Fiscally.
Okay.
Your coastal states, like the Floridas, the New Yorks, the Californias, they are higher than $10,000. A majority of the inside states, interior states, are a little bit more conservative. In talking to Utah cities and agencies specifically, a lot of them are saying, I don't have enough buying power, but I haven't gone to city council yet. They're waiting for someone to pull the trigger. So I'm the first one doing that, and then you'll start to see other cities doing the same thing.
Do you know, like, where they lie? Like, where they would like to be? Because that was one of my questions.
I think about 10,000 is this, like, average. Like, if you can get that, that'd be amazing. That would help our employees out. Riverton right now is at 4,000. West Jordan and one other agency's at 75.
I'm surprised Riverton's so low.
Yeah, Riverton really does a disservice to their employees, and I've told them that. But I guess I'll put that on record right now. But I think 10 is good for Utah right now, and good for Murray right now. If you wanted to go higher, I would not. I would support that, but I think 10 is right where we want to be. Do I think in 5 years I'll be back asking for more? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is gonna give us a good little hold and see how it will help our employees, but in 10 years or in 5 years I'll be back and in less than 5 years, I'll be back.
Can I ask Brenda a question?
Yeah,
What's our, do you know our posting level, the minimum posting level for the audit, when they have findings?
40, 50,000, 60,000.
The reason I ask is oftentimes at companies, we will set our expense levels around what the auditors are going to consider de minimis. And so that is why I wanted to kind of ask that question, because I mean, looking at 10,000, it seems like that might be too low, considering what the people who are assessing the financials say. Readers of the financials will not care about something unless it arises above $40,000 is ultimately what
Yeah.
Brenda's saying.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm wondering if it's better to, I mean, I don't know. I know you're saying 10, but those costs, I think one of them was 1,000%.
Yes.
I mean, and I'm thinking something more like 25,000, which still is below their de minimis posting level, but it would give them the ability to buy their supplies. And I still think that's conservative. It's still almost half of their posting level, and so that's, I think that's a
She
fair
always
state to go.
Are you squirming?
Lips. Just a little, just a little bit.
If you did wanna go up higher, then I think all of these numbers would need to be adjusted a little bit, so that's something that you wanna consider. But I'm confident enough in our employees' abilities to know what a good deal is with the stuff that they buy, and also doing market research. This one, you don't have to, but many employees still do. I know I do on several times when I'm trying to buy something. I'll check Amazon, I'll check Office Depot and
Yeah.
see which one's cheaper before we buy things.
And maybe that would motivate them too as well.
I'd just be curious, Jill, do you have a concern here? Can we hear?
I just think we need to keep in mind that when you're talking in the private sector, you're talking about efficiency, you're talking about profit. Here we're talking about accountability,
Right.
totally different,
Okay.
right? The idea is not to make it easier for someone to go out and buy things. It is to remain accountable. If Brooke is telling us 10,000, I'm most comfortable saying, I'm gonna listen to Brooke for right now, and we're gonna see how that goes. But again, it's not just to make this as simple as possible, there still needs to be transparency and accountability. I have a concern going from 10 to 25
Okay.
on minimal purchases.
Yeah, I've been debating between 10 and 15, and most of our employees said between 10 and 15 as well.
But it's not, I mean, I
I get it.
appreciate the input,
Yeah,
I just
but
wanted
it's
to hear
not
where
just
we're at.
it's not a straw poll of
Right.
employees.
No,
right? But we'll make this the easiest for us.
Right.
We still wanna be accountable, and I do have concerns. Again, we look at the state to some degree, but the state is not Murray City.
yeah.
The state has a much more,
It's huge.
yeah, so I just think,
But if
Half the
she's
raise, a
at
little bit.
15, is it make more sense, or
Yeah.
do we go at 10 and then have her come back for another 5 if it's still pretty onerous?
in
I
a
guess.
few years.
Okay. You think it's years? Okay.
But I think if you're talking about, when you look up there, again, you're talking about competitive bidding, so we get the best price. And you find that the tendency is, what's the easiest, what's the quickest?
Sure.
That's not always the most accountable.
Great. I agree.
So that's why I'm.
Well, I
Well,
guess
that's
my only pushback to that is in kind of knowing and going to the conferences even for power, there's not a lot of agencies that sell these products, especially at the level that you're at or power is at, is you have one or two companies and that's it, and they're obviously inflating the price. And that can hold back on some of it. So I think for me, I would be comfortable at 15 because of that, but not because, like, you're right, we're not making a profit
No.
here. But there are services that we are giving to citizens, and I think because of the vendors that we have to purchase these from,
But you
we don't
do
have a lot of,
address, if there's one vendor, you address that.
Yeah.
That's
Some
easy.
sort,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a given, but if you have two, there ought to be a competitive bidding process.
between the two,
Between the
yes.
two,
But
yeah.
they're still inflating the,
You can say that.
Yeah.
We can't prove that. So it's hard to say, because we think they are, we're gonna go, it doesn't make sense to me, right? It's the survey that Brooke has done, and come back as the purchasing person for the city telling you, you got 10,000. I'm saying if you can find something objective to bump that up, that's fine, but I haven't heard it yet.
I agree. I appreciate what you've done. Give it 15,000. At this point, it would be good if you find out it isn't, come back to us.
Yes, and we'll still be tracking like the increases too, and if we need to come back sooner than 5 years, that's fine, but
Hopefully not.
hopefully not, we'll see, but this last thing, this was what it would look like if it was approved, and then I wanted to open it up for any questions.
The only thing I have was, when I was reading through this, was on the back page, where it says, by approving this proposed change, the city council would not only alleviate the frustration delay experienced by our employees, but also enable them to better serve our community during these challenging times. We believe that this adjustment to our procurement metric is essential to maintaining the quality of service our city is known for.
Yeah.
And I really, that statement
That's the
hit
key,
home,
yeah.
and it's exactly
Yeah.
what we are known for. And we need to follow that.
Yeah.
And with your work that you have done, bringing this chart in, I think we're still doing that.
Yeah, that's the key to the employers are saying, like, maintain the integrity that we have of our infrastructure and to keep things going, so we can buy what we're able to buy 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and keep those same services and that standard up. I think this is a good change to make.
Yeah.
And be on the forefront of it. And other cities, you'll start to see many changes as well.
Yeah.
So that is all I have for you today.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brooke. Good job.
All right, we will move on to number 3, a discussion on a resolution approving the appropriation of money for corporate purposes based on findings pursuant to section 10-8-2 of the Utah Code, and our executive director, Jennifer Kennedy, will be presenting.
So this is the item you guys discussed in the last committee of the whole, and a couple of you asked for some more time to review the applications and come back for discussion, so that's why we're here. In addition to the information you guys were provided last time, in the packet this time I gave you just a snapshot of what's been asked for this year, as well as a history of the past 5 years, what companies the city has given these donations or grants to. We have that information to compare. As a reminder, the Bonneville research report is also in there, which does state that the city would get a benefit for the money that we're donating to these organizations. And then the applications. So I guess you guys wanted to discuss them a little more. The public hearing for this is set for October 17th. So next meeting at 6:30 p.m. All the organizations have been notified of the meeting time. I don't know if we want to have them speak. I'm imagining maybe we do. So maybe at the end, if we can get some direction on how we want to proceed with that.
What's on the application? Like, because on the application it says that they can provide slides and speak to the council, so I think, what's on the application exactly?
What's on the application? As far as-
Do you know what I'm asking? Cause it's in the application that if they wanted to provide and speak. Please provide a PowerPoint it's the last question. PowerPoint presentation to be given to the city council meeting. The presentation should be a minimum of include at least a minimum of an overview of the organization services provided by the organization, the financial request, the public purpose, the benefit to the majority of Murray residents, and how the funds will be used. Presentation should be and not exceed 5 minutes.
Okay, so 5 minutes is what we'll,
And as of today, I have not received the power from any of it.
but we will, so we can let them know that
I
if they wish to, they will have 5 minutes to speak at the council meeting.
That would be really helpful.
Yeah. There was a consensus of
Any concerns with that, or are we good with that? Right, so then as we go through these items, then is there further discussion on these?
Can we take one at a time? And look at each of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
What time is it?
Murray, you wanna start with Murray Symphony?
Is that the first one on her? I mean, let's go off,
Jennifer gave us.
yeah, perfect. They're both the same, yeah, agree, very quickly.
2,500. And it looks like they got 2,500 in years past, so really nothing has changed on that one.
Any further action on the motion from anybody? Any concerns?
And watching GL over the weekend, when he came up here to explain the code and having a net profit, I feel Murray Symphony does that net profit for us.
Meaning a benefit to the city. Yeah. When you said him coming up here, I was like, wait a minute, is he in the symphony now? Now it's getting really exciting. What do I?
He plays the clarinet.
Yes.
If anything, I can see him conduct.
I think that's true.
The code to me,
Yeah.
repunch that.
I had someone ask me, this is what I told him, I'll have to correct it, incorrect, but the study showed every single person that was in this qualified, is that correct?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gave,
I said that,
Found
then I
that they were like that they all had a purpose or they met the threshold for the statute.
yeah,
I was thinking like that.
Is that a fair way to put it, Gio?
It's a very broad blanket statement.
Yeah.
I don't think there was an individual particularized
Well,
analysis of each one,
yeah,
but
they,
it does
I
say
mean,
that they.
in this, I mean, even though it was broad, they did go through and like have some sightings of why they could
Well, they took that out of it.
applications, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I know he contacted the applicants. I'm not sure what makes these specials, but he did reach out to.
okay.
Okay, so then nothing else on Murray Symphony, then we can move on into the next one, which is the Murray Concert Band.
Yep, and I don't see any problem with that one at all, because that's what they've been getting since 2019.
Anyone have anything further they want to discuss on that item? All right, then we'll move on to the Ballet Center of Utah, which is a new ask this year of $3,000. And I believe that's this application right here in case it, the one with green on the top.
Yep.
Ballet Center.
Yeah. Any discussion on the Ballet Center Utah? It is located in Murray on Spruce Glen Road.
I really didn't have anything from them at all, because they're getting back to the public with 2 free classes for the citizens, those that take ballet or whatever. I have no problem with that at all. Maybe Brenda or the mayor or somebody can explain to me, could we put the symphony, the concert band, and the ballet center under Parks and
It is, that's, the symphony and the band for the last whatever have just been automatically given to them through the arts budget. It's in the arts budget. The new one is not.
the ballet one isn't?
No, because
So,
they have never asked before.
okay, which I have no problem with at all, but why is the symphony and the concert band coming to the city for?
Because before it was just listed on the addendum and now you guys are going through every one of the people we were
Okay.
giving cash to.
So could we next year have them put that in their budget, or
It
is?
already is in the budget.
But
They still have to apply.
They
still have to apply,
through this
but that money
process.
comes from the parks and recs. It's not gonna come from money, like, we don't write out a check and give it to them, right?
We will.
It's,
Well, we will.
but it will through the parks and recs,
That
right?
is all under the same budget.
Got it, okay.
Yep.
I just wanted that
All in
clarified,
the same
okay.
So these are essentially programs that are not run by the city directly themselves, that we are
Okay.
funding.
We are
So that's why it's not Parks and Rec or
Oh,
Lori, she's just applying for them on their
right,
own
got it.
as a service.
The next one is the Boys and Girls Club. They are requesting 100,000. It has been pretty consistent year over year at 100,000. Any concerns with the Boys and Girls Club? Or any further?
Councilwoman Diane said, I asked for that, and I said, well, I still haven't seen that, and that was January. of this year when we were at the old city hall. And I'm just kind of curious what their salary is, and I don't know if we can ask for that, but I'm just curious on their salary and how much, and
No, and I asked their staffing, getting their staffing document.
Yeah, you've gotten it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we make that request then?
and I would like to table this one until we get it. Okay.
So I don't know how that will work.
Well,
with
it was
the-
let me ask you this, if it comes before, then we can review it and you can have it as part of your information going into the public hearing. So we'll just need
Sure.
that in the next week so that we can get that.
Yep. And
The next one is Miss,
Wait.
oh wait, is there more on Boys and Girls Club? I apologize.
I have so is on the sign it says Boys and Girls Club of Greater Salt Lake, Murray. Is the offices here in Murray or is it somewhere else? I'm just kind of curious where their office is and
Would you guys gonna answer that?
well,
Is that
No,
okay?
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So
I can answer it
Okay.
because I do know. Their offices were in the old high school, and there was an agreement with the city at some point. There was a memorandum of understanding. They have now since moved out. Murray resident offered their business suites to them at a discount, but they are now in a new office space.
is
Here
that on
within
Commerce?
on Commerce Street.
Commerce Drive, that's where I saw the street, okay.
Yeah,
And that change was made because of the ultimate decision with the
with the property.
property. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I got my
I think
mind.
it's been very, very generous
Yes,
with the
absolutely.
Murray Boys and Girls Club,
Yeah.
letting them stay in the old Creekside School and offering them that with no charge at all, from what I've understood.
Correct, as long as
And
they
that's
didn't
pretty
take it away.
common, but that
Yeah.
that relationship is pretty common for a lot of cities. And their status with wanting to be in Murray, I mean, they could have gone anywhere, but a Murray resident offered for them to stay in Murray, and that was their first choice.
Okay.
Any further questions on the Boys and Girls Club? I don't wanna rush you, so take your time, Pam, we have time. I know you're going through some.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Got it, okay. Alrighty. Okay,
Has everyone on the council taken a tour of the Boys and Girls Club over there?
I have.
I have not.
You have, all the
Oh, yeah,
four of
you're
us have,
using
you
it.
have not. David, I think it'd be excellent and
Yeah.
to go get a tour. I think you'll, it's very insightful.
Okay,
Um,
that'd be awesome, thank you.
Okay, so assuming we get the salary information, it can be further discussion in the public hearing, but that is with that piece,
Yeah.
okay? Then we will move forward to Miss Murray, and they are asking for an increase to 14,000. Historically, they've gone between 55 and 6,200. Any discussion on that piece? Do we know what's causing the increase or what's driving the increase? Do we wanna,
Yeah.
okay?
No, I don't, that's what I'm wondering. That's one of the questions I will ask.
Yeah.
Do you know that the 6,200 from last year was plus the scholarship for the winter? So my educated guess is it's to cover some of the expenses of putting on the pad. It's just an educated guess.
And do we have confirmation that the scholarship gets paid out each year? I mean, we do know that it's been paid out each year.
Yeah.
Okay, so the funds do go
person
towards that, okay.
Do we give any other scholarships within the city?
Don't we get to some of the schools?
I'm sorry, Conwood and Murray.
We give 1,000 each, or the mayor's
Or
award?
2,000.
2,000?
I don't know what took, remember they only took one at one time?
I think
They
they,
did now.
they took them
No, they did
last
take the
time.
two. I think we.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we do it. I think
I know.
We're taking them. We do this.
Yeah,
we do
the-
this.
The road department used to,
Yeah, they-
he opted not to do it this
They
year.
decided to go.
Howard County.
Oh, yeah.
They just decided to go through.
Let me ask just a little bit more on this, so the scholarship piece. So do we actually cut the check to the Miss Murray for the and it's for how much is the scholarship?
What was the price?
6,200. We write a check for 6,200 for a scholarship. Okay.
Why don't we review any of the other scholarships? Is it because it's under your budget? That's a great question.
But we changed them.
No, I'm just saying, if we're
Because we
going,
moved
even
it all.
if this is, yeah, even if this is a scholarship process.
I wonder if that's because it's kind of, what is the name of the scholarship?
Is it the mayor?
It used to be something like that. I don't know, remember.
I think it might be because it's specifically given from the administration versus this is given to an organization that is not part of the city. I wonder, I don't know, do you go through applications and
Yeah,
pick
Tammy.
away? Okay,
Tammy, you did last
so that
time.
might be why, we don't pick the
But
Miss Murray.
but all of this used to be under the mayor's.
Well, we're not telling them they have to use this money for a scholarship. That's what they're telling us. We're
Using it.
assuming they're
Yeah,
using it
we're not
for-
sure.
Yeah, they can
You-
use it for anything.
You mean,
We can ask them.
yeah, I mean, they can say whatever, but I've been to several other things and they're always giving $1,000 to each kid.
I'm wondering on the Miss Murray piece too, are we?
All I can tell you is I know that when a Miss Murray comes in, she always talks about the scholarship. So I don't know how that works.
Do you have anything further that you would like to speak to? Or do we want to discuss it further? I mean, I think we just need to make sure we're having all the discussion on the table.
Well, I really think that they should come in and match what we give them. Like, we have 5,000, okay, we'll give you 5,000, match it that way. I know several of these people on this that used to be involved in it. I just think 14,000 is a lot of money that I would like to see them come in and match it.
Because I'm not sure they do much outside fundraising and stuff, do they? I just don't think that it happens
Those are
regularly.
questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been to one, but I don't think,
No, I
I don't
have.
think but they don't give $6,200 just to scholarships. Yeah.
We can
And we need to
We
ask.
need some more clarification. We need more specifics around, I think,
To come prepared to
yeah,
discuss
yeah,
later.
because we're gonna wanna discuss them.
So this is which are the scholarships.
Yeah,
I,
we need more information.
Because I would be inclined to keep them at their same level unless there's a compelling reason that they meet the increase. I think it would make sense.
for scholarship people from a year or two pre-asked.
So hopefully we can find that out.
Yep, so we're gonna table this.
Well, when we
Well, not
table
table it,
those,
but-
we had more discussion.
Yes,
I
okay.
have a question, and maybe this is a Brenda and Gio question. I know Pam just mentioned something about match grants, like if we'd feel more comfortable if they match this, but could we do essentially like a leg of this, and that could be further discussion, to have a match grant? I mean, I feel like their budget's already, they're gonna provide that they can match it, but.
So the way this is currently structured is to go under that statute, show the benefit. There would be no reason you couldn't do some sort of match request, but that isn't how it's currently structured.
Okay.
That's not how 10A2 is structured or how we've structured our program.
Penny two doesn't even.
Doesn't speak to that. I just see some value, and maybe this is something we think about in the future, to that
Yeah,
point, is
yeah.
where we start to have, we don't get money unless we're willing to put up money in a lot of these programs when we go to ZAP or we go to all these different groups. I mean, I think that it probably makes a little bit of sense to what you guys are talking about, absolutely.
And I met with the city manager from West Valley City a month ago, I think it was. And I asked him how he did their money, and I said, especially the pageant, and he said, well, we had a lady for 20 years and then she left and no one wanted to take it, so we don't have a queen anymore. But we have like a little group of citizens that get together and they're grant writers. And then people will go to them and say, well, we need this money, we need this for our organization, whatever. And they look at each of these nonprofits, and then they farm it out. You know, they bring the money into those. Instead of having the city involved in it, have an organization or a group of citizens that do this and provide that money. But
And I think they should
they
have-
don't even have a queen anymore in West Valley, so.
I believe Riverton cut their queen as well.
So for this year, a match probably not a great idea, but next year.
But
Right.
like, we can, that's why I asked if that's continuing on.
Like the boy.
I think so.
And I think they
really-
could.
Yeah.
And when we do our council initiative workshop in January, February, this is on my list of what I want to talk about, just the process and what went well, what didn't, what we need to smooth out. Because going through the process has been very eye-opening. So it's already kind of on my radar to talk to you guys about. So it's been great. It's been a great learning experience. Jill probably wants to kill me, but that's okay.
It's a great learning
I'll make a note
experience
of that.
for you guys too.
So.
Alright, let's move forward then on to the Murray Chamber, and you know, it's an increase, a pretty significant increase from 24,600 to 60,000. 24,600 to 60,000. And I would be curious to, you know, I don't go to the meetings. I don't have a ton of, I try to go to ribbon cuttings and that sort of thing. But from our representative on the chamber, are you part of budget discussions and where you meet and understand the numbers and the figures and the reason for the increase and that sort of thing?
I personally have not been, but I have talked to Pam and some members of the chamber of some of the reasons of this. And it's, to have an effective chamber, you definitely need staff to help. And so some of the cost of the increases is looking into the future and helping build the chamber and really the power of bringing more commerce into Murray as we grow, is having that additional staff. Is my understanding. I don't know if I'm out of place in saying that, but that's kind of.
So that's the reason for the bump is staffing.
So we're paying
To
a
help.
salary to the chamber, because when I was on the board last year and they discussed their budget, I was asked to go down into the stairwell and wait until they talked about the
You
budget.
did not sit in on the budget meeting?
No, I did not sit on the budget meetings at all, or on Zoom or anything like that. So I have,
That's concerning.
I don't have anything, but I do have on page 1 and then page 1 again, where they have.
The current budget and the future.
Yeah,
projected.
I know you guys are probably not gonna be able to find it right away, but I have a question about their labor. For 2023, it was for 52,000. And then on the next page, for 2024, they have labor of 140,000. Is the city paying for salary, and what's labor? Is labor like a building? Do they own a building? Do they take care of maintenance? Do they take care of their vehicles? Or
That
what's,
would be
Sounds like it's wages, right? That's-
more like an extra
Okay.
staff.
so we're paying for their salary, from what I
Staffing,
understand.
Correct.
Okay, well, I have a problem with that, but, you know,
Well, so speak to that so we understand more.
I mean, we have to remember that this isn't our money, this is the citizens' money. And this is the taxpayers' money. And I have a problem paying for salary when they should be looking into grants, and I know they are, and I know there's a little bit of not knowing when the grant is coming and how large the grant is going to be. But I just am very concerned about the 52,000 and the 140,000. And
I'm wondering,
and the
sorry,
and then wanting 60,000 when they've always gotten 24,600, which let me understand, Jennifer, you're gonna have to step in here with me. The MYCC gets money to take the kids up to the legislature in January. and it's $100 a plate.
Well, so what I can tell you is
Okay.
before we increased it, we were giving them 22,700, and then when we increased it to 24,600, that was the difference.
Okay,
It was like 2,500 or something.
okay. So is the NYCC under the chamber umbrella? How do we pay for those dinner that these students from Murray High, Cottonwood and other areas, homeschoolers, how do we pay for them? Does it go under the chamber umbrella? Do we make an allotment for them? And then the chamber writes out a check to them, because I don't even know if the chamber is a 501c3. And we have to be
Well, it says they
careful.
are.
Oh, if it's 60, okay, then we can we could add that amount maybe into the chamber amount, but I just think $60,000 is a lot of money for me to swallow.
I think I would like to know, and I think I already know, but for the public purpose, this is, I do know that there's a lot of professional services that the chamber does pay for review of grants, because that, like, the chamber themselves, they don't write all the grants, maybe like some of the bigger ones that they wanna look into. And so, that, with everything that we just saw with procurement and all of that, like, that costing increases. So maybe understanding a little bit more on how much they're paying for professional services, and if that's kind of where that lies. There's, I know, for them to be where they are now, there is a cost to that. So there are certain costs, and I think one thing too, even as a city, and maybe this is for you, Mayor, is understanding what that relationship and what our focus is and what our goal is with our relationship with the chamber. And I know that we are doing increases, but something as simple as like helping a small business, doing like small business loan matches or something like that, that the chamber can come in and help facilitate, or even finding what businesses and seeing what businesses may need a little bit of help to kind of sustain whatever it is. Developing some sort of program that way, or just really like coming from the point of, yes, we have a chamber, they are very active, they have connections, and they probably are paying for a lot of professional services to be able to increase their cost as well and to provide more within the business network of Murray City. But why? What's the why? And why are we as Murray City wanting this relationship? And I think there's many opportunities, there could be great positive opportunities for us as a city to say, look, we're gonna better our partnership and really forge that relationship. But why? And I don't know the why. I mean, I kind of know that we've always done it, and we've had some great success with some small businesses that are now multi-million level businesses. But as a small business owner, my resources don't come from Murray, and other than we are in Murray. And I get a lot of support from other cities, and I would love to really forge that relationship within Murray City and our business branch and the chamber to really grow and build from that. So I mean, I don't know, that's kind of where I've sat with this and being on the chamber and seeing, we definitely have a lot of opportunity for growth, and I think we are growing as a city, so we really can't afford to sever this specific relationship.
I don't disagree with you at all. I just think that the increase, it's a pretty sharp
yeah.
increase. And so the only thing that I guess I'm coming back to, because as someone who I value business a lot, I think we have to keep it growing and thriving in the community, is really around understanding the value that the chamber, if we're giving this significant amount of more money, is providing to the citizens. Because I hear it time and time again. I hear probably three major things. One, I heard it more when I started, but the chamber was holding events in other municipalities and people were concerned with that. The second one I heard was that many of the board members do not live in Murray City, and or, this is the third point, have businesses in Murray City. And so those would be things as we think to fund this and fund it more, even more aggressively, to make sure we understand the makeup. I'm not sure we have a full makeup, and I didn't realize, and it's concerning to me, if they're having budget discussions, why would someone on the board be asked not to be part of those as the representative? That would be concerning to me a bit as well.
Well, and it's definitely not out of the realm to ask for more transparency.
I agree.
Because I think we want that within this process anyways, and this is great that we are having this. I think a lot of us can agree when the chamber back in the day was like very, there was a lot of support within just Murray businesses and really figuring out as like a city too, how much support are we giving to our businesses? And I think there's a lot of like that in itself, that relationship is kind of, it's there, but it's not there. And I think that's why there's the grumbling.
Yeah, I think we need to have that understanding because I've been to many of the ribbon cuttings and they're spectacular. They get a huge amount of people out there.
Even the women in business events are
everything I've been to, I've been
awesome,
very impressed with. I just want to make sure that these few things that keep coming up are addressed as we move forward.
And that's my concern, just basically to make sure that we get the bang for our buck. That, like you said, transparency, making sure that we understand where the funding is going.
So
That's my concern.
are we going to make a decision on how much money we're going to be giving to these nonprofits tonight, or do we do it?
I think we would do it in 2 weeks, and so we can amend this along at that meeting if we get to the point where we feel like, I'm just speaking hypothetically. If we said we want to bring everything back down to last year's levels and fund the 2 new projects on here, 3 new projects on here, we can make that a motion and that amendment at the meeting. And so we could deal with it then.
My question to you, Pam, would it feel more comfortable at, we're asking the Boys and Girls Club for the salaries and labor. Would you feel comfortable with like seeing what that
The
projected?
chamber?
Yeah.
Sure,
Okay.
would love
I
that,
think that'd be important.
because the greenhouse gave that to us. If
Yeah.
you look at the greenhouse gave that to
And I
us.
think that takes us to the last one, unless there's anything else on the chamber. It's around the Greenhouse Foundation.
Hold on, I don't.
And in speaking with this organization, I was actually very happy to see this come through. They're in my district. They're doing exceptional work.
Wow.
Ruth Iyer.
Yeah.
I had spent quite a bit of time with her, and the way she speaks about it, but then actually going to the foundation and seeing the work they're doing, it's pretty incredible. I mean, they're in the back there sustaining a whole facility with growing these plants, and it's pretty impressive.
My girlfriend, before she passed away from breast cancer, we took her daughter over there, who is handicapped and disability, and watching those kids do what they do, and then they sell their product, and then they get the money and they put it back into the greenhouse. And what they're doing with this 25,000 is to add to their building, which I think is exactly what net profit is. That shows me net profit to me. They're going out, they're selling their products, they come back with the money and they put it back into their products, into their supplies, and they put it back into the buildings. And that to me sounds very much of what GL was explaining to me, and rewatching his video on that was net profit. So I have absolutely no problem with that one at all.
If you haven't been there,
Oh, you really have to go.
Very cool.
By far.
If you watch the parade, a lot of those kids were.
Well, they were there this year. They had their own float. And, and I know
They're
several.
not kids, they're adults.
Yeah, I know, but they'll always be kids. And they're good kids. I just adore them all.
I have a question, and I personally go and buy my comments here, so it's like the place I start, and then greenhouses, and Lincoln loves this location. I wish, and during the campaign, when I ran last time, I really wanted to volunteer. And they closed it to the public because of the kids and COVID and whatnot, and they still have it closed, which is great, cause I think, you know, it was a scary time, but I've been seeing their transition during COVID and how they really like upheld that, so the program in itself it's needed, it's necessary, along with all of these. My question to you, and maybe this is a GL question, is I know that they, are doing building, like they wanna expand and whatnot. Is there, like, could they apply to not have to pay for some of the permitting, like within the city or any of that stuff?
So real quick, my understanding is the permit was approved the day after the last meeting.
Right, but I think you still have to pay costs or application fees or
Right,
anything like
right.
that if
I don't think we have a provision for that.
we don't.
That's an interesting thing.
I'm just,
Yeah,
I mean, if we're gonna give $25,000, then we're gonna essentially get part of this money back, so.
Which is the which is
Yeah.
the net profit that,
Well, you're also looking potentially at the other one you've done where you do in-kind services or you waive fees.
Yeah, so put that on the list for next year. But, I mean, I wanted to see if that could be addressed. But yeah, that's all I have.
and then when we're doing our January thing, should we look at these as like we do with NeighborWorks?
So we'll discuss that in January. We're just
Okay.
gonna go over the application
Okay.
process and stuff like that.
Like an interlocal agreement and a cost study of more, because I'm sure we're gonna get more applicants,
Oh, yeah.
more nonprofits. I think they're gonna come to us and we need to set some kind of
Standard.
criteria. Yes, so.
I think,
Well, and that was what, the organization that Bonneville Research was supposed to have helped us with also. And, you know, and they did some of that. I'm kind of confused about when they talk about affordable housing, job creation, lighter education. I don't think that's within the purview of this, which, that's
which
their.
applicant was that?
The conclusion,
Just like the overall.
yeah, the conclusion,
I was kind of confused about.
yeah.
I saw that. So I will tell you, as far as, we reached out to 3 organizations to do this study. That was the only type of
Really. Anyway, that was confusing to me.
Well, I
didn't
can-
understand
I
that
can
that
kind-
was-
I mean, one of the things of like job creation, I mean, if we we could really break it down per one of these, is that we are essentially hiring for the band, for all these other, you know, programs to be able to be hired to perform in our city.
The
Boys-
band and the concert and the symphony and the ballet, they're not hired, this is all volunteer.
Right, but it,
They have
it's
costs.
it's
Well, the cost is for the material,
it's not
the
necessary.
band material,
Yeah.
and also taking down, setting,
Yeah.
whatever, broken stands.
Someone
or-
has to do that.
Right,
I mean, I get the first
Yeah.
paragraph, that makes a lot of sense. The second paragraph just seems like it was thrown in. I'm confused about that one.
are you,
Well,
are you in the conclusion, Diane?
Yeah.
Under the conclusion?
Yeah,
But
Okay.
But one last thing I was gonna say
required time.
is that even with like, and for instance, think about it this way, childcare is a big question right now in terms of, do I go to work or do I stay home with my kid? Because the costs are astronomical. We have an organization with the Boys and Girls Club, just as one example, is that they are able to subsidize a lot of the cost for parents to be at work. And that's, you know, as much as we say like, that's income also generating into the city, not from that,
Right.
just that child, but that parent being able to go to work. So there's some back and forth in this, but those are just, I think for me, that's my review on that.
But the city has been really good to the Boys and Girls Club by letting them stay at that,
It's,
city
like I said,
creek.
yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
no.
the city has given the Boys and Girls Club a lot of extras besides the 100,000.
Yeah.
And,
And the Boys and Girls Club has given a lot to Murray too.
yes,
I mean,
And two
it's been
kids.
reciprocal.
Yeah.
uh-huh,
So, I mean,
Yeah.
they're very, very important to our community.
yep.
Awesome, thank you,
Anything
Jeff.
further? Well,
If you guys want these hard copies, please hand them. I can send them in electronic. Speak, but I don't wanna send these hard copies.
Please don't send it again.
We have them.
For those here are tuning in, tonight is Councilman Rogers' first meeting he's running, so we're very excited, not to put him on the spot, but I'm excited to have him with the first meeting. So with that, we are adjourned until 6:30.